Welcome to this episode of Horrific History and Hauntings. I'm Beth.
And I'm Ramy. We're your hosts, here to talk about the stories that the history books ignore.
From horrific epidemics and ghostly hauntings to the catastrophes and tragic events that have sickened humanity.
What happened today in history, Beth?
Not going into detail. I'm just going to say that in 1942, the Jews in Paris were forced to sew a yellow star on their coats.
I'd imagine it's because of the Nazi invasion.
Yes.
Yeah. Nazis aren't great.
No, not at all.
No.
But don't be one.
Don't be one. Don't be a
We
Nazi.
will judge you.
Yeah. That seems like exactly what they're doing, though. Just, pick the moral high ground, I say. Then if you want to look down on people, do it from there. There's people who throw plastic bottles out their window. It's fun to look down on those folks. I'm a terrible person. That's why we can't play Legend of the Five Rings. Beth, what are we talking about today?
The Cecil Hotel, pretty much the case of Elisa Lam.
I think it's Elisa.
Elisa, yeah.
I don't know for sure. I've heard about this.
Yeah, she was from Canada, and she wanted to visit California.
Okay.
And the Cecil Hotel was always known for not attracting the right kind of people. It was a very unlucky, not great place. It was close to Skid Row. And, I mean, if you don't know what Skid Row is, it's...
Watch Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah. It's where the homeless go, the bad people, the drug... Not saying they're all bad. It's... You have nowhere else to go.
It's considered the bad side of town, is what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
We just insulted a lot.
That's why I'm saying, like, it's not all bad people. Some people just find themselves there because they're in a bad position. They have no money, but they end up stuck there because that's where they send people like that. They kind of trap them there in a way, which is really sad. But there's many cases in this hotel besides this one of suicides, overdoses, missing people, drug dealers, sex workers and pimps, rapes, murderers, and from what I hear, including Richard Ramirez hung out there.
Oh, see, I did hear about that part.
Yeah.
See, this is one I recommended to my sister because of its ties of a movie that I also enjoy.
So a little bit of everything bad was happening here at the Cecil Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It attracted a lot of the bad people, but a lot of the tourists didn't realize that. They just thought it was a nice, cheap hotel, and they didn't realize that dangerous people, some of them even just lived there.
Yeah.
Because it was so cheap, and that's was their home. That's how they afforded it.
Yeah, they had so many, what was it? So many floors were permanent rentals, and so many floors were hotel rooms.
Yeah.
So you had people coming and going, and people who were permanent residents, and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and some of them were, of course, visiting foreigners, and some of them were people who didn't want people to notice the bad things they were up to, and some were just unfortunate enough to be stuck where they couldn't get out of there.
Yeah.
It's a big mixing pot.
Yeah.
Just something bad's bound to happen eventually.
The Hotel Cecil opened its doors in 1924, and it costed around $1 million. In
1924, that's
In 1924.
Yeah.
The hotel had about 700 rooms, and this is where 21-year-old college student Elisa Lam vanished without a trace. The last she was seen was in video footage that showed her behaving oddly in an elevator.
It's a haunting,
Very
actually.
strange video. She was traveling by herself, and I think she was doing it for her own mental health. She was a blogger. She was very into social media. She treated Tumblr kind of like her digital diary. So you can kind of go on there and figure out who she was, her life, and
it's her perspective of how her life was going.
Yeah.
Which is sad if it's still up, because people who know her can still find it.
Yeah.
I guess it might not be sad. Some people enjoy that. I don't know.
Well, she arrived in Los Angeles on January 28th, 2013, and she had just left San Diego. Her family in Canada last heard from her on January 31st. Tim Marcia, a detective with the LAPD, was assigned to the case along with 18 other detectives.
That's quite a number. Well, for a city that big, I guess.
Yeah. The detectives discovered that the Hotel Cecil was where she was staying at the time of her disappearance in room 506. The thing is, later on, it said that she was sharing a room with a couple other girls, but that they changed her to a different room over complaints.
They said she was the girls complained about her behavior.
Yes. So I don't know if room 506 was the room that she got transferred to, or if it was the other one. I'm going to assume it was the room she got transferred to. She was supposed to check out of the hotel on February 1st, but that was the same day she was reported missing. The detectives went to her room to look for evidence and clues, but by that time, the hotel staff had already removed all of her belongings from the room, but they kept her belongings. Obviously, they just moved them out of the room. Investigators discovered that her clothes, laptop, prescription medication, things like that she would need was left behind in the room.
Mm-hmm.
The staff reported that the room was left messy, but they didn't observe any signs of a struggle. Investigators interviewed employees who were working the night shift on the day of her disappearance. Some recalled encountering her in a restricted area, and they had to ask her to leave. And they said she headed towards the elevators.
Well, she done what they asked.
And her extensive use of social media, particularly Tumblr, served as a type of digital diary, as I mentioned before, which allowed the police to trace some of her steps and gather some clues about where she had been. I don't know what Tumblr is.
It used to be this wonderful app where you could find all kinds of great photos and posts, mostly photos, kind of like Instagram, but they allowed nudity.
Tumblr?
Yeah, a matter of fact, that's why Tumblr isn't popular no more, because they had to stop allowing nudity, because a lot of it were children.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. I think they should get rid of all that in general, but okay. Moving on. Investigators eventually located a bookstore that she had visited on the day she went missing. The bookstore staff remembered her and said that she was very outgoing, seemed to be in a good mood. After 6 days, they still had no sign of Elisa. Her family ended up flying to LA to help look for her.
It's natural to do, but I always wondered, what do they think they're going to do in a city that large?
I don't know. Maybe it would be more comfortable to at least know you're closer, I would assume.
Yeah.
I don't know. Investigators speculated that she might have ended up in Skid Row, which, as mentioned, notoriously high crime area. In the documentary, one of the detectives, I believe it was, or police officers, mentioned that he watched someone pick up a live pigeon and rip its head off with their mouth.
He's a false Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
I do believe I found this documentary on Netflix and Discovery Plus. It may be other places.
I forgot what it was called, though.
But I watched it months ago, so I can't remember much about it. Well, I remember the big stuff.
Upon reviewing the hotel's surveillance systems, they discovered that not all of the hotel's floors, including the one Elisa was staying on, were equipped with cameras. Eventually, they did find the footage of her in the elevator where she was acting extremely strange, like she was watching for someone or trying to hide from someone. And for some reason, the elevator was not moving and the door was not closing, even though she was pressing all of the middle buttons on the panel, like all the way down.
Yeah.
The middle buttons. The door didn't shut until she left the elevator.
If I was in an elevator that was acting funky, I wouldn't just continue to try and make it go.
No. As they continued watching, they realized that the cameras pointing towards the exits showed no sign of her leaving the hotel.
That must be frustrating and exciting. You know, she must be there somewhere.
Yeah.
Or, I guess, if they haven't found her yet, took off in someone's luggage, perhaps.
Yeah. This caused investigators to begin searching the hotel premises because there's no footage of her leaving. She must still be there.
One would assume.
Yeah. They brought in scent tracking dogs to search, and one successfully picked up her scent, but it led them to a window with a fire escape, and that's where the scent was lost.
Well, that tells them she might not be in there. I forgot about fire escapes.
Yeah. Then they brought in helicopters to search the roof of the hotel, and they found nothing. The Elisa case faced a setback when a former LAPD police officer disrupted the investigation because he was attacking the police.
What?
Yeah, just a random former officer just decided to. I don't know if he got fired or what his deal was, but this caused the team working on the Elisa case to reduce from 18 to just 4.
Do they mean attacking, like harming, or just like publicly posting, they're wasting all this time and manpower?
They said attacking, so I'm not sure if he was actually just
I
threatening or if he was actually attacking.
It is physical violence. I guess that's why they had to pull people away.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So went from 18 investigators to 4.
Still, it's one building. You'd think it would be easier, right? That's why this is so famous, I guess. It's mysterious.
Yeah. After releasing the elevator video footage to the public, investigators received a few tips, but unfortunately, none of them led to anything significant. Her online post indicated struggles with depression and bipolar disorder, and she was on quite a few medications, but she was seeking treatment. Investigators discovered that she had initially been sharing a room with the other girls. I don't know who these girls were. I thought it said she was traveling alone, so I don't know where these girls came into the picture.
You could, I think the hotel's designed, you have more than one party in the room.
No.
That's what
I
I
will
said.
100%
That's why they're
pay
so affordable.
100% all on my own before I will share any room with anybody, especially people I don't know. No.
But she might not have had that luxury.
But yeah,
she might have been trying to meet new people too.
She was, according to her post. She wanted to meet new people.
So there you go. That must have been very disheartening to find out they wanted to move away.
And as I said, due to the complaints about her behavior, the staff relocated her to a private room.
I would like to know what this behavior was.
Bipolar and
she
depression.
Yeah, she might have been getting very upset.
According to her family, she had, as I mentioned, bipolar, really high highs, but then she would have really low lows. She'd be Monica in Shameless.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Or Ian.
Oh, I forgot.
When he had that problem.
Poor Ian.
Doing off-the-wall things that people would not do that are dangerous.
Yeah.
Or being really happy and hyper and then really depressed and no energy.
Mm-hmm.
She had also made a few posts expressing her desire to avoid unwanted attention from others when she was going out. I'm not sure. As a girl, it really is hard because people will bother you so much when you're going out. Just so much. Even to a gas station.
I assume so.
So I don't know if it was that or if it was because of her issues mentally, that she was just paranoid. That's a possibility too.
It's just some things we won't know.
Yeah, it's impossible to know.
We know what her intent was.
Yeah.
That's all we can guess.
Yeah. The Hotel Cecil, as I mentioned, had a dark history. In the 1960s, a woman jumped out of a window, tragically killing a man walking below along with herself.
Oh, dear. I shouldn't laugh at that.
Yeah, that's horrible luck for the man walking. Another incident involved the rape and stabbing of a woman in her hotel room bed. Even in the 30s, some of the first deaths at the hotel were grim, including
as opposed to those more flowery, peaceful.
Yeah, including a suicide where an individual cut their own throat with a razor.
Oh, I always thought that was a weird one.
Yeah. Eventually, there was an effort to help stop things like this. The hotel was divided. The permanent or monthly tenants were relocated to, well, pretty much, as you mentioned at the beginning, it was 1 or 2 levels that were for these people. And then there was another hotel inside the Hotel Cecil called Stay on Main, which occupied a few levels. And then the rest of the top floors that remained were for the Cecil Hotel. Despite this division, the only shared space between these sections was the elevators. So these customers or guests
could intermingle.
Yeah, in the elevators, they could have to deal with some of these suspicious characters that stayed there.
Yeah.
In the elevators.
Bad
place to be.
Isn't there an American Horror Story about vampires that was based on this place?
I believe so.
What was it called? American Horror Story, not Coven, because that's the witches. Hotel. Well, it's called Hotel, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's based kind of on this. The one that's got Lady
Gaga, I believe.
Yeah, I guess.
There was something up with the elevator footage. It's as if it had been tampered with. The timestamp appeared to be slowed down at times and was skippy. It was blurry, hard to read. There seemed to be a missing minute as well.
Didn't the police eventually say they altered it?
No.
What? I thought the police did that.
No. The police said that the footage that they initially have was not tampered with at all.
Okay.
And then the hotel said they didn't tamper with it. So I'm assuming they're saying that somebody, as this video began becoming so viral, ended up messing with it. I don't know.
Oh, I could have swore I heard that the police had done something to it, but on purpose, just to do it for some reason, but not bad, not like out of malice.
A lot of people did think that, and it's one of those things. I don't know.
Huh. A lot of bizarre things in this.
Yeah, it's unknown. Some of the tenants began to notice a discoloration and poor water pressure in their water.
Yes.
The hotel manager asked maintenance to check it out. There was 4 tanks of water on the roof, and initially it was assumed they were empty.
Yeah.
So the maintenance guy decided to check it out. That is where he found Elisa's body in a water tank on February 19th.
Yeah.
In the water, people had been drinking and brushing their teeth and bathing in.
It looks like there had been an uptick in cases of illness, but they didn't mention it, did they?
No.
You would assume drinking, no, I don't mean to.
Corpse water?
Yeah, it's just like throwing raw beef into a tank of water and letting it sit there, and then people drink it. It looks like it would cause an illness.
Food poisoning.
Yeah.
At least. You would think.
But maybe not. Clearly, it looks like if the whole building had came down with something, people would have noticed.
Yeah. They called the authorities.
Obviously.
And investigators discovered that the tank was closed, but upon opening it, they found her naked, decomposing body facing up.
Huh.
Her clothes were found at the bottom of the tank.
That tells me that she might have got in somehow, could not get out, and didn't want to be weighed down by her clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Or
there was also the theory of hypothermia because apparently the water does get cold at times with the weather, and hypothermia, you take your clothes off. Following the tragic discovery, the hotel was shut down and the remaining guests were relocated elsewhere because, the water was toxic.
Well, apparently not that toxic.
Well, polluted, at least.
Yeah.
The authorities drained the tank and allowed her body to descend to the floor of it. Despite fingerprinting the area, they found no evidence. One of the many web sleuths analyzed the elevator video and noticed that among the various buttons she pushed, she had also pressed the elevator hold button.
I've been told that those buttons actually do nothing.
For the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that too, but apparently it worked for this one. This happened while she was on the 14th floor as well, because they noticed a particular color that one light for the 14th floor turned, which meant that they were on that floor. Go web sleuths, I would have never thought to look for anything like that.
Yeah.
This was one floor below the roof, which was also the same floor that the dog caught her scent until the window. Investigators speculated that she might have climbed up the fire escape to reach the roof. However, it was discovered that it wasn't the only way to access the roof. Obviously. I would hope not. She exited the elevator and headed towards the left in the video footage, which is where stairs led to the rooftop. There was supposed to be an alarm on the door that led to the roof, which should have went off if somebody was going through the door, unless they had an employee key, which from what I understand, only maintenance managers and the owners had.
Okay.
After reviewing additional security camera footage, it was revealed that Elisa had entered the hotel with 2 men at one point. She took a box from one of the men, after which the 2 males turned around and left. So obviously that was suspicious, figure out who those men were, what's in the box.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The box was actually discovered among her belongings, and they traced its origins back to the bookstore she had visited. It was just a delivery from the bookstore because she was afraid she wasn't going to be able to carry the books by herself.
Oh.
So that's all that was. It was still a mystery of how she managed to reach the top of the water tank, because that's how it was opened. You have to be on top of the water tank.
Mm-hmm.
And the lid weighed 20 pounds and was not hinged. It just fully came off.
I prefer things with a hinge. I know, because I've had to open septic tanks and other stuff like that.
Yeah. But there was still the question of why would she have entered the water tank? How and why?
Well, the hotel didn't have a pool.
The lid on the water tank was closed, according to the officers, when they arrived. So there was the question of how she put the lid back on if she was willingly in the water tank.
That is a good question.
Some assumed it was suicide due to her struggles with depression and bipolar disorder.
That's another odd one to choose, though.
There was also the question of where, considering she was so close to Skid Row, there was bad people, there was drugs around. Did she take some drugs?
And just kind of wander into the pool.
Yeah.
Or the water tank.
Well, yeah. The medical examiner observed that Elisa was wearing the same clothes in the video as they found in the water tank with her, and determining how long she had been in the tank and how long she had been deceased was challenging due to the varying temperatures on the roof. Mm-hmm. Her body was in a state of moderate decomposition, but it remained unclear whether she was already deceased when she was placed in the tank or if she had entered it alive. And no evidence was discovered to indicate she had been sexually assaulted either.
Oh, dear.
But then again, I don't really know exactly how that works, but she was in water. I'm sure some of anything could have been washed away.
Yes.
Possibly. I really don't know.
Drinking up.
Oh.
Well, that's how it went, Beth. This is a shocking turn of events. Imagine the families and other people living there. Now they found out they've been drinking an unfortunate Canadian girl corpse.
Ew.
I guess if I didn't get sick, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised. If I got sick, I'd be very upset, though.
I'd sue.
I'm sure there was cases.
If I was the guest and I drank that, I would sue.
Imagine the residents, though.
Oh, ew. People began thinking that there was cover-ups by the police or the hotel. There was delay in the release of the autopsy report. People questioned why the scent tracking dogs didn't pick up on her scent on the roof during the search.
That is a good question.
It is.
Of course, the weather might have had a hand in it. I don't know how that works exactly.
Speculations arose that Elisa's case had similarities to the movie Dark Waters.
Not just a little, a lot.
It was, very...
This is that movie I referenced that I watched long before I watched this documentary. And then I find out at the end that they happened that the movie actually happened before the incident.
Yeah, it did.
It's kind of weird.
So people were thinking, did somebody carry out what happened in this film?
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't blame them for thinking that. Following the discovery of her body, there was a tuberculosis outbreak in that area, so the health department told the hotel that they needed to be tested. Another strange coincidence was the tuberculosis test that they were using was called Lam Elisa. Spelled exactly the same, too.
Yeah, that is. I forgot about that part.
Yeah. And then that's when the conspiracy theories emerged, suggesting that she may have been a part of a government plan to infect the homeless population in Los Angeles.
Through a hotel.
Well, yeah.
That's so weird.
There were so many coincidences. It's no wonder that...
Oh, yeah, they knew conspiracy theorists was going to go crazy with it.
Yeah.
Even I could see the odd connection between it all.
Strange. There was also the thought that, considering all the death that happened in the hotel's past, maybe it caused the hotel to be cursed or haunted, and a spirit or just the energy convinced her to go to the roof and throw herself in the tank. Web sleuths looked into investigating anyone associated with this hotel at the time, which led to the discovery of a video by a metal artist who went by the name Morbid.
Oh, I remember this. I about forgot until you mentioned him.
Yeah, I feel bad for this guy.
I do too.
And nobody apologized. Ugh.
No.
Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all.
Yep.
In the video, there were disturbing scenes featuring a girl running until she was murdered, but it was his music video. I mean, you can find all kinds of music videos.
Why did they go after the people who made the movie? That's way more...
I don't know.
Similar.
Well, he was at the hotel at some point. They found a video of him saying he was at the Cecil Hotel at some point.
It wasn't even the same time, though, was it?
No. It turns out, I'll mention it later on, it was not the same time that she was there.
But the people who made the movie, most likely, I don't know, I assume L.A., probably reside in the same city. Why not look into that? I'm not saying they did it. I'm just saying if I was going to look at people closely, I would choose the ones who... The
movie that was so similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not this random person just because he likes to make metal music and have gothic, morbid videos.
See, his name is Morbid. Come on, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Leave the metal artist alone.
Yeah. Further searches into this guy was done, and they found more videos with blood on his face, or what looked like blood on his face. Some of the lyrics of his songs hinted at themes of screaming from rooftops and a girl dying in water. All coincidence. Some believed he did something to her. People were messaging him by this point and accusing him of the murder, threatening him. Morbid responded with a video insisting that he was innocent, which his name actually was Pablo Vergara, I believe is how that's pronounced. Toxicology reports eventually came through, and it was found that she had no drugs or alcohol in her system aside from her prescribed medications, but it was found she was not taking the actual prescribed amount. She was taking less than she was supposed to. I think her family said she did it a few times. She didn't like being on all the medications, but you kind of have to. I hear that is a popular thing when it comes to a bipolar disorder medications. I feel like they probably have some side effects that are not good for people to do this, but I really don't know. Like, it makes you feel maybe zombified. Like I said, I don't know. But yeah, she hated taking so many medications.
We don't even know if the medication or any of it had any hand in it. The thing is, that's the problem. Nobody knows exactly what happened.
Yeah.
They have to make the best assumption they can and go with that. And I believe it was a controversial, in the end, what they came up with.
Yeah. But the fact that she wasn't taking the proper amount of her medication, she was taking less, it may have been why she was behaving strangely. She actually went to a show or a production and wrote a letter to, I believe, the manager. And whatever she wrote in this letter, I really don't know, but apparently it was to the point they thought she was a threat, and she was asked to leave. She was escorted out.
Oh, maybe I blame it on the medication then.
Yeah.
At least there's
the lack of.
Yeah.
She was also writing letters and notes to the girls that she was sharing the room with for a while, telling them to get out, and she would lock the door on them and not let them in the room.
What?
Yeah, so it's understandable why they were like, yeah, she's got to go.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. If I just met you, I couldn't put up with that very long either.
I'm sorry, but if, exactly as you said, if they just met you, it's not their problem. What your medication is supposed to be, if you're supposed to be taking, it's not their problem. You can't be acting that way, as sad as that is. And also, they probably may not have even known, so how could they have possibly even helped?
Yeah.
So we don't know that either.
So the thing is, don't blame it all on the other occupants. It's bad. And how would you react if you was in that situation?
Yeah. Oh, I would have complained too. You're locking me out of my room that I'm partially paying for? No, thank you. You gotta go. Or I gotta go, one or the other.
Yeah.
On June 21st, 2013, the results of the investigation were released. Elisa Lam's cause of death was ruled as accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder cited as a contributing factor.
It's not as exciting as people would hope, and I think that's why it's so controversial.
Yeah. Looking into the case, I originally thought there's no way that she just hopped up in this water tank by herself. She was murdered, for sure. The hotel's hiding something. The police may be hiding something, but I think the hotel's hiding something. I no longer think that way.
I don't either.
I
never would have assumed it was a metal guy.
No, I would have never assumed that. But you know how people always, it's the devil. They like metal music. It's the devil.
Yeah.
Because we are closed-minded and ignorant, but, you know. During the interview on the documentary, Pablo said that the video he had posted of him in the Cecil Hotel was a year before Elisa's death.
Yeah. I remember there was a time difference in it. Yeah.
Eventually, the harassment from people on the internet and sending him death threats and such caused him to have a mental breakdown, and he tried to take his own life. And at the end of this documentary, or close to the end, he mentions, as I said, nobody, not a one of these garbage people that did this messaged or contacted him to apologize. So just so y'all know, you should be ashamed of yourselves because you almost caused another death because you wanted to judge somebody over music and what they enjoy.
Yeah.
So shame on you.
It's a.
Your parents should have raised you better.
I don't know. Wait for proof and then point fingers, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or leave it to the people who get paid to point fingers. How about that?
The fact that people were sending him death threats and they didn't get punished. That is a punishable thing by law. They should have been punished.
I don't know how that works, especially across the borders. He wasn't from America.
Oh, well, true. But it happened in America.
Yeah.
People from America were the ones doing it.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it was a worldwide thing, but I'm sure many of those were from America.
Try not to go accusing people blindly.
Yeah. Maybe keep your mouth shut until you know, until there's proof.
People don't do that, though. You have to ignore them.
Yeah. Her family disclosed that Elisa had a history of experiencing paranoia, believing that people were out to get her, and hearing voices that was telling her pretty much to kill herself and do bad things. They noted that the behavior seen in the elevator video resembled episodes she had during her mental health crisis as well. So they pretty much believed that it was exactly that. She hadn't been taking her proper medication. She was having a mental health crisis, and that she was the one that put herself in the tank. They didn't think that anybody did this.
Like they implied, it could have been she just got up there, got in, didn't even think about how she's going to get out at the time, or it might not have been intentional suicide. It could have just...
Yeah, there was also the thing of maybe she thought it was just a really good place to hide when she was going through this, but when people drink the water, it lowers in the tank, and she may not have been able to get out when she wanted out, which brings to the point that you made earlier. Maybe that's why she took her clothes off, to lighten herself up.
I can't imagine how heavy. I've never gotten in the water with all my clothes on. I can't imagine how heavy. Especially after, a few minutes of kicking, trying to stay afloat.
Feeling. I don't know if it's just me, but wet clothes on me, I don't like that. Yeah. Like a swimsuit, I can handle because it's not that much, but actual
she clearly wanted to go down if she got in the elevator to try to go down the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're on the top floor, why would you get in the elevator and press more buttons?
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to go down.
Yeah. But people believed that maybe the video
was altered.
Well, yeah, that too. But maybe somebody was not seen in the video that was holding the door open.
Because it looked like she was interacting with someone, didn't it, in part of the video?
It did. But then again, there's the fact she wasn't taking her proper amount of medication. She had issues like this. Her family admitted to her acting that way, hearing voices, things like that. So, and she also pushed that button where the door wouldn't close. There was also this one point where she was waving her hands around weirdly, and it made me think like maybe she was trying to get the door to move, like wave her hand, thinking maybe it hadn't. My thought was the door's not closing. Maybe she's trying to trigger it to close somehow.
The same way your Sims react when they have to repair something.
Yeah.
They wave and flail if they can't do it.
Yeah.
That's a very sad story and scary.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
On September 19th, 2013, Elisa Lam's parents filed a lawsuit against the Cecil Hotel for wrongful death. They believed that it was an accidental drowning, but they claimed that more safety measures should have been made to keep the public away from the roof.
Completely agree.
I agree.
You shouldn't be able to walk up to your
the manager,
community's water supply and just toss in people or whatever you want.
Yep. They did have the door with an alarm, and there's no way you have to have the fire escape. I mean, you have to.
Too many tragedies.
Yeah.
We covered one way back when.
So, I don't know. I guess, they could have locked that window, but then that would completely defeat the purpose of the fire escape if there was a fire.
Yeah.
That part is kind of hard. Like, you can't lock that window. You have to have that fire escape. The door was supposed to have an alarm, so I'm going to assume that she went out the window and climbed. I'm going to assume. I don't know.
I wonder if anybody tested the door to see if the alarm actually worked.
I believe
Surely
they said
someone did.
Yeah, I believe they tested it and that it worked just fine. I want to say the maintenance man did, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, yeah.
But from what I understand, the alarm worked. Maybe the door to the roof with the steps should have been locked instead of just an alarm.
If nothing else, lock the thing where the water goes.
Yeah, and lock the doors on the water tanks. Yes, that definitely should have been a thing. But also, I don't know if there were any regulations or anything like that when it came to that.
Well, they should be that you have to lock them.
Yeah.
We have well water. I can't imagine living in a place where I just don't know if my water has been tampered with or not. As it is, Mother Nature's giving me all the lead I need. I don't need somebody adding to it.
Yeah. According to the employee that found her in the report, he said that the water tank was open when he looked in. So that explains
that she probably did it herself.
Yes. And he closed it before the police got there. He looked in and then closed it before he caught
Because
him.
anytime you look in it, that's natural. You close up what you opened, and he's done it 1,000 times or however many times. Why wouldn't he put the lid back on when he walked away?
Yep. So that explains that part of why when the police showed up was the lid closed.
Yep.
And on January 1st, 2017, the doors of the Hotel Cecil were closed and the building was sold.
Wonder what it turned into. I haven't looked it up since then.
I don't know. That was the mysterious case of Elisa Lam and a little bit about the Cecil. I'm sure there's a lot more about the Cecil Hotel that we could have went into, but
I mean, we could, I guess.
I was running short on time because we were already late because I'm not mentally okay. Not bad enough to where I'm going to be getting into a water tank, though.
Don't mess with the cistern.
Yeah. I'm not going to mess with the water or anything like that, but I'm in that I should just lay in bed and do nothing stage.
Yeah. Well,
so, to the point where I get dizzy where I stand up at points now.
Oh.
Like, it's not good.
Well, there's nothing I can personally do about that.
Well, no.
But like I said, I can fix it to where you can work from home easier. But on that note, we are going to be releasing on a every other week kind of schedule now, just to give us all time, because I do actual works kind of now. So it might change again in the future. So we'll see what goes from there. She does a lot of research for this, and I do quite a bit of reading. I have ran out of books that I know intimately to talk about in Brother Knows Quest, tabletop game podcast. And it's now that I have to read the books all the way through and take notes and all that, it's taking me a little bit longer. Brother Knows Quest comes out one week, and the next week, HH&H comes out. That way, at least we have part of the Gruesome Gaming Group, our podcast network. At least we have something coming out every week. Mm-hmm. After you hear this one, the week after this, you will hear another one, this podcast. And if you want to listen to something made by us, it'll be Brother Knows Quest, our other podcast. I'll leave a link in the description, Linktree link. It'll take you to our home webpage, all of our socials. You can reach out to us, talk to us. And the home webpage will have all of our podcasts, Brother Knows Quest, Leveling Duo. It's a podcast that me and my friend Dakota, me and Beth here occasionally do, talk about video games we like. But that's a very sporadic one whenever we play a new game. It ain't often. I do appreciate this, and I've recommended this episode to you because I like this subject. It was a weird one. Yeah. And a creepy one, and a depressing one.
See, I was going to do the smiley face murders at first, and then I realized that is going to take a really long time. I didn't realize that's what it was. I just happened to hear about it, and I wrote down.
I don't know what that is, so I'll learn something too.
It's a lot. I don't know when I'll do it, because like I said, I just don't have the energy. Maybe after vacation, I'll feel better.
Yeah, with this new schedule also, we'll still be able to release an episode on the weeks that she's in vacation. She had taken ill here recently, other than the depression, and we had to skip. So we had backup episodes, and we've released those. And this is our first recording after all that. She's going on vacation soon for her birthday. So we was going to skip a week or use the backup episodes, the alternating between week to week. Smiley face. I don't know anything about those. I don't know. Don't tell me. I'll learn about it when you do it if you ever get around to it.
Apparently neither did I.
Obviously.
So.
If you
But the next one, I know what the next one is going to be. I just have to type it up. I've written out the notes, the research part. I just have to type it up so that it's easier for me to read when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the Gabriel Fernandez case.
Okay.
How the system does not help children at all.
Yeah. It either overreacts or underreacts. That's what I've discovered. Sometimes there's perfect in between situations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And if they have a problem listening to child abuse, child murder type thing, maybe not the episode to listen to.
Okay. For warning. Week after next, you'll find out about that probably. Okay. Well, thank you again. I've been Ramey.
And I'm Beth.
And this has been HH&H. Bye-bye.